Tomorrow is Yom HaShoah. People ask a question. Why did the Holocaust happen? Why did the Holocaust happen? Now, as I've said to you guys in the past, when people ask, where was God during the Holocaust, there's only one Torah-based answer, which is, what do you mean, where was God during the Holocaust? He's the one that did it. Just like he promised he would, if we violate his law. Now, one of the foremost experts on Torah and Holocaust that I know of is Rav Ephraim. Happens to be my rabbi. He's an expert in the history as well as details of what happened in the Holocaust, as well as connecting different things to Torah, of course. And he had a shiur today about it, because again, in learning a little bit about the Holocaust, the day of before the Holocaust, the memorial is very important. But he gave a little bit of a timeline of the things that happened that maybe will give us all a little bit of a better visual of how Hashem works, meaning how does his measure for measure work? Because we know we're never going to know what's in Hashem's mind. But we know that Hashem himself says, I have a system. It's called measure for measure. I reward, measure for measure. I punish, measure for measure. So by looking and reviewing the details of what happened before the Holocaust, we could learn how Hashem runs his world. Now, some of the things I'm going to tell you are not going to be pleasing to the ear. Most of it is going to be fine. Just a little bit petrifying, but fine. Some things are not going to be fine. But nonetheless, as I told you in the beginning, every human being, not just Jewish people, should do serious research on the Holocaust. It'll teach you about reward and punishment. It'll teach you about what is a life without Torah, and so on and so forth. So let's start. The Holocaust, according to most people's knowledge, started during the 1930s, but climaxed in the 1940s. The truth is that the Holocaust did not start then. The truth is the Holocaust started almost 250 years before that, or 200 years before that. It started when a person by the name of Mendelssohn, Moshe Mendelssohn, Yimach Shemo v'Zichro, who called himself a Orthodox Jew, but decided to start a modern Orthodox type of movement, which eventually culminated and became Reform Judaism, by telling people that you should be a Jew in your house, but a human being everywhere else. Meaning, do us all a favor, keep your Judaism at home. You can keep the mitzvah, no problem. But among everybody else, among the German people, the Italian people, the Greek people, the everybody else people, be like everybody else. Don't bring your kippah out, your tzitzit out, start saying Mashiach, Mashiach. Don't do us any favors, please. Keep your Judaism at home. In his own life, he saw almost every one of his descendants convert to Christianity. And he was supposed to be a rabbi. All of his descendants completely destroyed themselves, according to Torah. But many of his messengers took it a step further than him. One of his messengers, in the year 1832, his name was Avraham Geiger. Avraham Geiger had a meeting, and there was a article that came out that announced the meeting or publicized the meeting that the Reform movement had almost 100 years before the Holocaust happened, that the Reform movement has decided to declare war against the Shulchan Aruch. The body of work that Rabbi Yosef Karo, 500 years ago, put together, that took all the laws from the Torah, written Torah, the oral Torah, everything else, put in a body of law of what we follow as Judaism, what every Jew is obligated to follow. They declared war on it. How? By, in essence, putting a new law together and saying that from now on, you are allowed to intermarry. a Jew is allowed to marry a non-Jew. Not that it's difficult to overcome it. No, no. It's not that, oh, you'll get punished, but you're still going to be okay. No, no, no. You are now allowed, according to the Reformed Jews, you're allowed to marry. Jews and non-Jews are allowed to marry. It's a mitzvah. In essence, they not only declared war against the Shulchan Aruch, against Judaism, against God, but more or less, they changed the Torah, they changed the religion altogether. Now, Arav Shlomo Wolbe, alav shalom, in his book, Ben Sheshet La'asol, on page 78, writes something in regards to the Holocaust. And he writes a story about Rabbi Israel Misalant, 90 years before the Holocaust. Slightly after this meeting with the Reform rabbis, Rabbi Israel Misalant heard about what happened with these Reform people, and he heard that there's no separation in their Bet Knesset. He heard that they now have musical instruments in their Bet Knesset on Shabbat. He heard that now it's literally become a different religion. And he said the following: they put together a new Shulchan Aruch where they permitted intermarriage. The time will come and the Goyim will come and also create a new Shulchan Aruch of their own, a new book of laws of their own. And in the Goyim, when they're going to write their own rule book, in their rule book, they're going to forbid intermarriage. And woe unto Am Yisrael on the day when the Goyim are sent from Hashem to forbid intermarriage. Because the way they forbid it is going to be very different. This is Rabbi Israel Misalant 90 years before the Holocaust. Meaning he's already telling you what's happening. The Reform people did not let this slow them down in any way, shape, or form. In 1930, one of the students of Rabbi Israel Misalant, his name was Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim was already 90 years old. World War II was recently over, completed. And he said, in a meeting with other rabbis, he talked about the end of times. And he said, Gog Magog, Armageddon, is going to be a 3-part war. The first war, we saw it, World War I. That's the first part of Gog Magog. The second part of Gog Magog is going to make the first part look like child's play, like kindergarten. He was predicting the Holocaust. And he said the third part of Gog Magog is going to make the second part look like kindergarten also. 1930. In 1931, the Nazis go into parliament, and also Mein Kampf is published. Hitler's Mein Kampf is published. And against all odds, it's well accepted, sold out everywhere, and the Jews don't get the hint. Mein Kampf comes out, the guy's telling you, by the way, I'm going to kill all of you. I'm a messenger from God. I'm going to kill all of you. That's what he says in Mein Kampf. Hitler says in Mein Kampf in the second chapter, I'm a messenger from God. Because you desecrated God's name, you went against God, I'm a messenger, I'm going to kill all of you, all the Jews. You would think, this Hitler, that's a messenger from God. Maybe I should do tshuva, maybe I should change something. Especially since they just went to parliament. They don't get the hint. 1932. Nazis actually take over power in the government. And Chafetz Chaim says, soon there will be rivers of blood in the street. You're talking about nearly a decade before the Holocaust. The Chafetz Chaim Beruach HaKodesh is telling you, soon, all of you are having a good time. Everybody's a millionaire. Jews were filthy rich in Germany. Political power, political positions, bankers, lawyers, doctors, inventors, all types of things. Like America today. All of a sudden, this little rabbi comes. He says, by the way, you know this America that you have over here, this Germany? Soon, all the streets, all the millions you have over there, all will become worthless. They're going to take everything from you. Instead of people, there's going to be blood in the streets. Guess what? Nobody paid attention. Nobody paid attention. 1933. Hitler takes lead against all odds of even logic, human logic. Why? Hitler did not have any type of good lineage. He didn't have any connections. He didn't have any family members that were something. In fact, in his entire life, he never had a single job. The first time he ever collected a paycheck was as the leader of Germany. Like, that's the first time he ever had a paycheck. He never even worked at like a store, nothing. Complete and utter failure his entire life. First job, president. Makes no sense whatsoever. At that point, you should see, wait a minute. The same guy that just wrote a whole book saying how part of his mission in the world is to destroy the Jewish people. Same guy. Never had a job in his life. Same guy just wrote this book. He became the president. He became the prime minister. He became the guy in control that could actually do what he said in the book. Do tshuva, something. Nothing. Nothing. Jewish people still don't get the hint. When he was elected in 1933, the Reformed Jews published in a paper, the Hitler of Mein Kampf is not the Hitler that was elected. Meaning, he just wrote what he wrote in the Mein Kampf just for political stuff. Just, get people to like him, get people to... That's not really what... The guy that's the president now, the guy that's the leader now, no, he's a tzaddik. He's good. He's good with us. He's good with us. He didn't really mean to say what he said in the book. He didn't mean to. Well, Hitler proved this point very, very quickly, shortly after becoming a leader, still 1933. Passes a law. Germans are officially forbidden from doing business with Jews. And they made a one-day cherem on Jews. One-day prohibition. You're not allowed to open your business if you're a Jew. What day was it? Shabbat. So they forced all the Jews to keep Shabbat, not work on Shabbat. Hashem was trying to give us a sign. Keep Shabbat. Don't open it any day. What, I have to send the goy? I have to send the Nazi to force you to keep Shabbat? They didn't get the hint. Surprisingly, the Germans decide, no, you know what? Let them work on Shabbat. One day law. One time. It was supposed to be law, period. Not supposed to work on Shabbat. They decide, no, you know what? Let them work on Shabbat. Like as if, mamash, it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu giving you a clear sign. Don't work on Shabbat, I'm going to send you to the Nazi. Don't get it. They don't get it. What Shabbat is it? Shabbat HaGadol. Parashat Shabbat HaGadol, 1933, where the Haftarah talks about being put on cherem. What happened to Am Yisrael? They were put on cherem. Mamash, you look at the parasha, you look at history, same thing. Unbelievable. Fast forward, April 1933, we're only talking about a few weeks. Parashat Tezriah, Parashat Metzorah, talks about how people that have impurity are thrown out of the camp. They have tzarat. Hitler creates a Gestapo. For what? They have one mission. separate the Jews from everybody else. Separate the Jews from everybody else. Next month, May 1933, Parashat Achrei Mot. The parasha that talks about Nadav and Avihu, this week's parasha, talks about Nadav and Avihu dying from fire. The Nazis decide they're going to take a bunch of Jewish books, a bunch of Torah books, and burn them in the middle of the street. No Jewish street didn't have fire. Just like Nadav and Avihu were killed with fire, there was fire of Torah everywhere. Burning Jewish books everywhere. A couple of weeks later, May 16, 1933, Parashat Zachor, Hitler actually reads the parasha of the Shavua. Hitler actually reads it. Literally, I mean. He says he knows about the Parashat Zachor. And he decides to violate the Versailles Agreement of World War I and build a Nazi army. What do we have in Zachor? We have Amalek. Parashat talks about Amalek. Amalek says, I'm back in business. I'm back in business. Fast forward, Parashat Bamidbar, we'll only talk about weeks later. Parashat talks about how soldiers of Am Yisrael must be between the ages of 20 and 60 and Jews are only allowed to be soldiers where? In a Jewish army. A Jew is not allowed to be a soldier in an American army, in a German army, in a Arab army. Only if you're a Jew, you have to be in a Jewish army. That's what it says. Parashat Bamidbar talks about it. Hitler passes a law same week of the parasha. What's the law? The law prohibits Jews from becoming soldiers in the Nazi army. Now you would think the Jews would get the hint by now, right? But not only they don't get the hint. You know what the Jews did? They protested. What are you talking about? We're German. We want to be in a German army. We're going to defend the Reich. We're going to be a German. They wanted to be in a German army more than they want to be Jews. They don't get the point. They don't get the message. 1935, 1936. Hitler passes the Nuremberg laws. What do the Nuremberg laws say? Nuremberg laws say a few things. The first, there was two sets. First set of 3 rules said that a Jew that cohabits with a German, Jew marries a Goya, Jew touches a Goya, death penalty. What does it say in the Torah? Death penalty. Jew is not allowed to be with a Goya. Also says that a Jew is not allowed to have a servant that's younger than 45 years old, if he's a German. Meaning, stay away from the Goya too, if she's pretty. If she's less than 45, she's still young, she's in her prime, she's not even allowed to work for you. The German is mamash fulfilling the Torah for the Jew. And what about all the reform that are saying, no, we're German. They made a public statement. They said, no, Berlin is the new Yerushalayim. That's what they said publicly. Never in the history of Am Yisrael has Am Yisrael gone to such a low point of saying that some foreign city is the new Jerusalem. Even if we were sinners in every regard, we never did it. No normal American Jew says that New York or Washington or whatever is the new Jerusalem. Even if they hate Israel, they still don't say it. Back then we were, where do we get to? They said Berlin is the new Yerushalayim. Hashem says, I don't like when you say that. So I'm going to send Hitler to stop you. Hitler, in the first set of the Nuremberg laws, says a Jew is forbidden from waving a German flag. You are not a German. No matter how much you want to be a German, you're not a German. Yeah, but I'm already married to a Goya. My father's married to a Goya, and a Goya, 4 generations into marriage. You're still a Jew. Hitler says you're still a Jew. Why? Time to pay. You would think that the Jews get the message. They don't get the message yet. Rav Wasserman, the Talmid of the Chafetz Chaim, comes out and tells people, look, we have prophets that talked about intermarriage. The intermarriage in certain parts of Europe and the world were extremely high. In Germany, were over 90%. Other parts, lower, but nonetheless very high across the board. Similar, very similar to what we have today, by the way. Rav Wasserman Alav Shalom, one of the Talmidim of the Chafetz Chaim, he heard and he saw with his own eyes what the Chafetz Chaim was talking about. The Chafetz Chaim told him, listen, soon you're going to see blood in the streets. Years before that, he says, soon you're going to see a war much worse than World War I. Rav Wasserman was seeing this all come to life. He saw this happening. He says, please, listen to the Torah. It says in the Torah, Hashem is not joking. And he brings a verse. He says, Hashem said to the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 32 and 33. Hashem says, and for what enters your mind, it shall not be. HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Am Yisrael. He says, you have an idea in your mind. You have a plan in your mind. It's not going to happen, I'm telling you. Why? What's this plan? What are you saying? That we will be like the other nations? Like the families of the lands to worship wood and stone? What? You want to be like the Goyim? You want to be a German? You want to marry the Germans? You want to marry the Americans? You want to marry the Arabs? You want to marry the Christians? You want to be like them? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Ezekiel, tell them, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to give you a promise, he says. As I live, the word of the Lord Hashem, meaning I swear, Hashem swears in his own name, danger, danger, danger. HaKadosh Baruch Hu writes, I swear in my own name. I will rule over you with a strong hand, with an outstretched arm, and with an outpoured wrath. Biyad chazaka, bezoa netuya, ubechama shfucha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Am Yisrael forever, your idea of being a German, an American, an Arab, an Italian, or whatever it is that you want to be, it's not going to happen. One way or another, I'm going to rule over you. It's going to be with a strong arm. It's going to be with a outstretched arm. It's going to be with wrath. So Rav Wasserman Alav Shalom says, look, strong arm we already saw. Look what happened to us in the Beit HaMikdash. Outstretched arm, look what happened to us over the last 2,000 years, the Spanish Inquisitions, the pogroms, World War I, all this stuff that's happened. We saw it. You're still intermarrying. You're still going with Goyot. Are you really trying to get Hashem to rule over us with wrath too? Must he fulfill the rest of the verse? He already did the first two, Ribono Shel Olam. He already did the first two. Must you force his hand to do it with wrath also? Make it even worse than the first 2 times. Rav Wasserman cries. Chafetz Chaim cries. Chachamim cry to Am Yisrael. Nobody answers. It's in the verses. It's in the Torah. The Chachamim continue. Please wake up. Please wake up. If that wasn't enough, he brings them another verse. He says, look what it says in our Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Ezra, Ezra was Kodesh Kodashim. Maybe you didn't understand the message the first time I told you, so he told it to a later prophet. He said it to Ezra. Chapter 9, verse 14, verse 13 and 14. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been a conversation with Ezra. Why? There's a lot of intermarriage. The time of Ezra. So Ezra says, you, our God, have withheld retribution to less than our iniquities deserve, and have granted us this remnant. Ezra is telling Hashem, technically Hashem, we made a lot of problems for you, we did a lot of horrible things, but you didn't really punish us enough. Thank you. We appreciate it. Because really, we deserve a lot worse. And then he continues, and he says, shall we again violate your commandments and intermarry with people of these abominations? We're going to continue marrying the Christians. We're going to continue marrying the Goyot, the Goyim. We're going to continue doing them. If we continue them, surely you would become enraged at us until our destruction is without remnant or even a single survivor. If you didn't understand Ezekiel's message, you don't have to. It's okay, no problem. Ezra speaks literally. He says, Hashem, if we continue intermarrying, for sure you're going to destroy us until there's nothing left of us. Rav Wasserman, Alav Shalom, cries to the people, Chachamim cry to the people, but people don't get it yet. Rabbi Meir Simcha says, we've gone to a generation where the Israeli, the average Jew, is getting to a point where he's forgetting his roots. But he will be reminded of his roots when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends a wind. And the strong wind brings a goy gadol, a big nation. And that nation will uproot the Jew and punish him for thinking you're a goy. You want to be like me? You want to be a German? No way. I'm going to punish you for thinking you're a German. If that wasn't clear enough, second set of rules, 49 rules came out by Germany, Nazi Germany in 1938. Second set of Nuremberg laws brings 49 laws. The worst laws ever existing in creation for Am Yisrael, but the best ones too. As clear a message as anyone could ever get. This is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Time's running out. One of the rules is, you still want to be a German after all the hate, after all the stuff that we're doing? We burned the Batei Knesset, we did this, we did... Oh, the Germans, they're just destroying Am Yisrael, but it's still like, not the worst yet. Not enough. New law. From now on, all Jews, I don't care if it's fourth generation, Nazi Germany says. All Jews, male, are called Israel. Female, Sarah. Stop calling yourself Gearing and Meering and Teering, all these German names. You're not Stephen, and you're not Matthew, and you're not Paul. You are a Jew. A Jew is Israel or Sarah. The Germans make the law, not the Torah. German made the rule. You figure, you know what? Chatanu, avinu, pashanu, enough. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. Why? Because we all know that the Egyptians, they have made a lot, the same exact thing happened in Egypt. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us. Why? Because we didn't change our clothes, we didn't change our language, we didn't change our name. In Germany, we changed our clothes, we started dressing like Goyim. We changed our language. We didn't want to speak Hebrew anymore. We wanted to speak German. We wanted to speak Italian. We wanted to speak everything else except Yiddish or Hebrew. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, you know what? Why don't you at least keep your names, Ribono Shel Olam? Keep your names at least. Stop calling yourself a German name. Still that we can do. He says, okay, so I'll make the German, I'll make the Nazi, I'll make Hitler, make a law. From now on, your name is Israel. From now on, your name is Sarah. Now, in 1938, Germany, Nazi Germany, Hitler decides to go to Austria. And they join forces. Everybody stays quiet as if it didn't happen. Amalek just joined forces. Last piece of the puzzle. On Tisha B'Av, 1938, Adolf Eichmann, Yimach Shemo v'Zichro, is hired to take care of the Jewish problem. On Tisha B'Av, 1938. November 1938, Parashat Vayera, Leil Abdolach. 1,200 synagogues are burned down to the ground. Month before it, October of 38, Hitler kicks out 12,000 Polish Jews from Germany. They didn't like it. The German Jews didn't like being kicked out of Germany. So one of them told their son about it. A Polish Jew by the name of Herschel Greenspan, who was in Paris at the time, said, I can't believe it. Look what these Germans are doing to us. We're German. They kicked us out. So this young kid, he's in Paris. What does he do? He decides to go up to a German diplomat and put 5 bullets in him. Open murder, open assassination. November 1938. November 7, 1938. This was the pretext, in essence, the excuse Hitler used to now, all bets are off. 2 days later, November 9th, Kristallnacht. The highlight of the open pogroms against the Jews. On that day, 30,000 Jews were put into concentration camp. 2 days later. You say, why? Look, Hitler says, look, they're killing our people. They're assassins. What do you assassinate them for? Because they got kicked out of Egypt? You should be happy you got kicked out of Egypt. But we're not getting the message. Kristallnacht happens. They burn synagogues. Things continue to get worse. Rabbi Yehuda Hasid says that a synagogue only gets destroyed, a goy only gets the right to harm a synagogue after a Jew desecrates it first. If the synagogue is holy, no goy can ever harm it. If the synagogue was destroyed, that's because a Jew harmed it first. 98% of the synagogues in Germany, the ones that were destroyed, 98% were all Reform synagogues, temples. 98%. Yeah, you have a constant chilul Hashem, constant desecration of Hashem in that synagogue. Why would Hashem allow it to stay? If that wasn't enough, we're still not at the highlight of the war until Parashat Ki Tavo. In Parashat Ki Tavo, the parasha that talks about how Hashem is going to, in essence, hide and punish us, but He's going to make sure that we know it's Him. Germany decides to attack Poland. But where do they attack Poland? Now, if you attack a country, where are you going to attack them? You're going to attack what? No, you don't have to be a soldier to know this. Where do you attack? You attack their army. You attack their planes. You attack their barracks. You attack their tanks. That's where you attack. Why? Because if you don't attack their army, their barracks, they're going to attack you back. So first, if you're already going to attack, you're going to surprise them. What you're going to do? Ruin their ability to retaliate. Hashem could not make it more obvious, at least from our perspective, Baruch Hashem, 70 years later. The Germans attack Poland. Where do they attack? civilian Jewish communities only. Now, you're going to say, wait, there was 3.5 million Jews there. Yeah, but there's also millions and millions of just Polish, Goyim. If you're going to say, okay, kill the Jews, okay, kill some Goyim too. No, at least 50-50. Kill some Goyim, kill some Jews, fine. Okay, no, at least that's logically would make sense. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. This is your punishment. Because other people, because of this, because of that, all types of things. But we're not judging anybody. But we see clearly how HaKadosh Baruch Hu works measure for measure. The wicked got their punishment, and unfortunately the righteous got a punishment for the wicked. Why? Many reasons. Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat, the rabbis got punishment at the time of the Beit HaMikdash. Why? They didn't rebuke people. They didn't tell them to go do tshuva. I don't know who, what, when, and how. All I know is this. I'm reading to you what it says. In May of 1940, Hitler launches Auschwitz. Auschwitz, for anyone who doesn't know, was the worst place on earth. It's Gehenom alive. Millions of people were tortured, tested, killed, millions. 95% of them were Jews. Same parasha that Hashem says, I will destroy your idolatry. I will destroy the things that you replaced me with. Now, for anyone who wants to know more details of what happened during the Holocaust, I would suggest watching a real documentary about it. Today I watched a documentary made that was actually hidden for 40 years. Because they had the film, but they didn't have the sound for 40 years until they put it together. One of the producers was a very well-known producer of his time to make movies. But they actually asked him on a special mission to go actually film one of these concentration camps after the war was over. People were still there. Armies were just coming in. His name was Alfred Hitchcock. And he went, and this is not a movie, this is documentary. He's filming actual things. And he tells you things and he shows you things in the film. I mean, there's other documentaries there. But I think many of the documentaries today are watered down. A lot of the stuff that they made today, new stuff, is watered down. They show you shoes, but they don't show you the person that used to wear it. They show you teeth, but they don't show you the person that's missing them. They show you stuff, but they show you the cans of gas that they used to kill millions of Jews, but they don't show you the bodies. You want to get a real Musar lesson? Watch the bodies. Watch what it looks like. And you'll see some horrible stuff, Rabotai. But I recommend that every person should watch this at least once in their life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're not allowed to have a tattoo as a Jew. You're not allowed to have, you're a Jew, you're not allowed to put a tattoo on. If a Jew didn't want to listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he still put on a tattoo, it seems like the measure for measure punishment for that, according to this documentary, was relatively obvious. The Nazis decided that if they liked the tattoo that's on the Jew, they would just simply peel his skin and make some type of furniture with his skin now. A lamp, in addition to a sofa, something. Depends how big the tattoo was. And they'd sell it in the open market. He shows you a table full of human skin, tattoo, but it's now a lamp. Now it's something else, but human skin, tattoo. They show you what they did, Hashem Yachem, to people, how they tortured them. Good people, bad people, Jews, non-Jews. Millions of people. Millions of people I mean, the level of suffering that these people endured. I mean, you see the bodies that literally they're burying them in these huge holes, 5, 6, 10,000 people in one hole. And they're carrying the bodies like it's like, I don't know, like it's a doll. And you see the expression on these dead people, it mamash takes the life out of you. Rabotai, one message that I think every single person should be able to get from seeing a real serious documentary about the Holocaust that shows you the bodies, the living ones that look dead, the dead ones that look alive, shows you, you're going to get to one conclusion. Hashem is not kidding. That's the conclusion you need to get to. He said, keep the Torah. It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a recommendation, keep Shabbat. It wasn't a recommendation, be modest. It wasn't a recommendation, don't waste seed, don't eat non-kosher. At no point in the entire Torah does Hashem say, I'm just suggesting for you to maybe consider taking some of my laws seriously. He never said that. What did he say? This week's parasha. This week's parasha. Parashat Achrei Mot. ושמרתם את חוקותיי ואת משפטיי אשר יעשה אותם האדם וחי בהם אני אדוני. Akadosh Baruch Hu says the following. This week's parashat Achrei Mot, chapter 18, verse number 5. You shall observe my decrees and my laws, which man shall carry out and by which he shall live. I am Hashem. It's not a suggestion. He's saying these laws, observe them. These decrees, observe them. Carry them out, follow them. Why? That way you'll live. Why? I'm God. I decide if you live or die. Very simple. This week's parasha. Same week parasha of Holocaust Memorial. Same week parasha of what we need to learn, a lot of things. Rabotai, I know you don't like to hear this stuff. And trust me when I tell you, I don't really like telling you it. Trust me when I tell you, I don't really like to learn any of this stuff. I hate it, actually. I despise it. But I have to. And the reason why is because our Chachamim, our Nevi'im, our Torah warned us that what we saw in World War I, what we saw in World War II, it's going to happen again. And the only way that anyone here, anyone watching, has a remote chance of having a Kadosh Baruch Hu protect them from suffering, from agony, from the horrors that you're going to see in the film or that you heard today, is by clinging to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. People thought they were smarter than Hashem. They wanted to ignore Him. At the end of it all, guys, a person is not even the flesh and blood that he thinks he is. You see how they carry these corpses? These poor people starved to death. Starved to death. I mean, it's the worst type of death you can have. Better to get shot, poisoned, something else, which they also did that too. We got killed by our own hands. The gas that killed millions and millions of Jews, guess what? A Jew invented it. Got a Nobel Prize for it. Do you understand? Stop it! It's not your living room. Dead people, millions of them, your brothers, your sisters, your grandparents. Do you understand? Do you understand it's not a joke? Do you understand it's not something to yawn over? Watch it, please. Please do me a favor. Watch it. I have it on my playlist on Facebook. I have it on Facebook, on YouTube. I have a playlist of some of my lectures about the Holocaust. It's called Holocaust Research. It has some of my lectures on the Holocaust, which this one will be included in. But more importantly, it also has a documentary about the Holocaust. Please watch it. You should know what happened. You should see it with your own eyes. It's going to ruin you, but it's going to help you. If you know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do this, you don't need to ask about Gehenom anymore. You're never going to have to ask about Gehenom. You can see Gehenom in real life. It's horrible. I've watched it before, I watched it again, and every single time it ruins me for days, for months. I cry, I can't sleep. It's the worst thing on earth. But I know at the end of every single time, Ishtabach Shemo La'ad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not kidding. That means I have a mission in the world. I'm trying to literally save neshamot from that happening to them. That gives me a purpose in life. That gives me a reason to continue. With all the problems and the headaches and the haters and the people are going to send me messages, oh, you're not sensitive, oh, you're not this, oh, you're not that, why, who, what, when, I care less. Why? I know that the Gedolei Ador, Rav Wasserman, Chafetz Chaim, all of the Gedolim in that generation did the same thing. If I could save one person, that's fantastic. If I could save 1,000, fantastic. If I could save millions, even better. But I'll die trying. Rabotai, all the things we say in the Shurim, they're all great. This is one of those times where a person needs to reflect a little bit. I'm not saying become a rabbi tomorrow. I'm not saying become a rabbanit, Sarah Imenu. I'm just saying, realize that there are eyes that are watching you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching you, and He's not recommending you follow the Torah. He's commanding. So start with something. Start with something. Do something that you're not doing now. Do something you're not doing now. Take something seriously. Take this day as a day. You know what? 6 million of our brothers and sisters were murdered in cold blood. You could see the visual of it. You could literally see the film of bodies, millions of bodies being gathered like rats. You can see it. With your own eyes, you can see this happening. Say, you know what? This happened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did this. I can't mess with him anymore. Let me try to do something. Say, you know what? Hashem, I can't be a rabbi tomorrow. Hashem, I can't be Sarah Imenu tomorrow. But I can do something. I give a little tzedakah. I can put on more modest clothes. I keep Shabbat. I can do something, for heaven's sake. Something. And then build from there. Build from there. And you'll see. You start enjoying that something. And you're going to want more. And eventually, you're going to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu more than anything in the world. To the extent that the whole week, you're going to look forward for only one thing. Shabbat. The whole week, you're going to look forward to learn Torah. The whole week, you're going to look forward to the next time you could talk to Hashem. The whole week, you're going to look at people and say, that's a potential customer. What, for your business? No. To get him too close to Hashem. You're going to look at people and say, I could save him, I could save her, I could save him, I could save her. Why? I don't want that bad stuff to happen to them. I don't care if they're Chabad, or they are Breslev, or they're Reform, or they're conservative, or they're secular, or they're Zion. I care less. You're a Jew, I'm going to try to help you. As long as you're willing to accept the help. You don't want the help, there's nothing I can do. My arms are tied. But Rabotai, you have to do something. First save yourself. Then you start saving the people around you. Then you start saving more and more and more. But please, please, take this stuff seriously. Because I'm telling you, it's so awful if you don't.